Hey gang, just before we jump into this episode, I wanted to offer you an opportunity to access my new mini course for free before I start charging for it in future. It's for people with vulvas and it's quick to complete. It's all about demystifying the female body and pleasure anatomy and getting some basic fundamentals to understand your body better. It's called Pussy Pleasure Secrets, Your Roadmap to Bedroom Bliss. You can grab it on the freebies page of my website or in the show notes. It's a great little free resource to kind of dip your toe in or act as a bit of a taster for my work. So if you've ever been curious about this sort of thing and you just don't know where to start, or you want a really quick, easy, accessible, non-threatening way to get the ball rolling and start working on this stuff, this is a great place to start.
This program is brought to you by Pussy Magnets.
Put a midge on your friends with a pussy magnet.
Welcome, my lovely lumps. Or should I say lovely labs? I'm so thrilled to have you here in the Labia Lounge. We're going to yarn about all things sexuality, womanhood, relationships, intimacy, holistic health, and everything in between. Your legs. Ooh, can't help myself. Anyway, we're going to have vag loads of real chats with real people about real shit. So buckle up, you're about to receive the sex ed that you never had and have a bloody good laugh while you're at it. Before we dive in, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. It's an absolute privilege to be living and creating dope podcast content in Naarm, and I pay respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. Now, if y'all are ready, let's flap and do this. Oh my God, is there such thing as too many vagina jokes in the one intro? Whatever, it's my podcast. I'm leaving it in.
Don't panic, you're not broken. Your sex education was a piece of shit. Get your flaps out and pull up a couch. It's the Labia Lounge.
Welcome back, labial losers. This one's a pretty fun one. I have gone around and taken it upon myself to collect masturbation stories, either first-time masturbation or very early on when we're sort of just discovering this part of our body and what it can do. I've been asking people to give me the lowdown on how it played out for them. And some of the stories are vulnerable, some of them are funny, some of them are really relatable. It's sort of the usual mixture when it comes to this stuff. And also, as per usual, the idea is that the more we talk about these topics and the more we hear other people's stories and experiences, the less alone we feel and the more we realize that we're actually not that weird and we're not broken and we're not a freak, and that there's actually other people out there that have either had a similar experience or a pretty relatable one, or maybe one that's even more shocking than you thought yours was. And I actually think it was quite a freeing and in some cases healing experience for the brave people that feature in this episode to share their stories. And in the process of recording some of these, I think a few people may have even felt a little bit of weight lift off, or perhaps some little shrouds of shame that were still residually hanging about were done away with, which was a pretty fun side effect of this project. If you have a story for me and you were inspired by this episode, please send it in. I've actually still got a few stories trickling in from the friends that I hit up within my network, which is where I harvested these little gems from. I'm probably going to do a part 2 episode because I thought I'd just put this out here now. It's already a pretty fat episode, but I've got plenty more people that were keen to contribute a story and just didn't get it in yet. So if you've got something and you want to write it down for me to read out on the next episode, or even if you want to send a voicey and I can just play the voicey anonymously on the next episode, that would be awesome. And I really want to just thank everyone that contributed to this episode and courageously shared really personal, really, quote unquote private stories. It's super brave and just doing it for the team. So thanks guys. And last thing is, if you've got a favorite story, I thought about doing a competition and maybe I will in future, but for now, would just love you to send me a message or an email and or maybe even comment on this episode. Let me know what your favorite story was out of the bunch. Cool. Enjoy.
All right. So I grew up in a pretty conservative household where my parents never gave me or my siblings the talk. And I'm the eldest of four. And so I was the first one to kind of be exposed to it all. The first time I was introduced to porn was in year three when a friend of mine told me to check out redtube.com. And so later that night after school, my siblings and I, my three younger siblings and I gathered around like the family desktop and watched porn for the first time. And we were a mix of like bewildered and confused because like we were kind of transfixed, but we didn't know why. But then, yeah, fast forward 2 years. In year five, my friends showed me what masturbation was. And it was almost like the new cool thing to do at school, you know? And we thought we were such little like badasses, like, oh, check us out. Like, we discovered this thing, like, no one really knows we're doing it. And so, anyways, this was around the time where the second Transformers movie came out, and my friends and I were obsessed with Megan Fox, like absolutely obsessed. And so one of my friends had all these pictures of Megan Fox on his USB, and we would sneak into like the computer room at school, plug in the USB, and then just start whacking off, like all huddled around the same computer, just whacking off and looking at the screen. And this was way before like any shame or any types of associations we learned. And so, yeah, it was pretty normal. And it was funny and it was a bonding experience. But that was kind of the start of like our whole tirade, you know? So first it started in the computer lab. And then before you knew it, we were sneaking into the library, sneaking into like the school bathrooms, going behind the school bathrooms, and just like whacking off all the time together. And, you know, it's not like we had smartphones or a laptop in the bathroom. So we'd just be like standing there next to the urinal, kind of laughing and whacking off in a circle, pretty much a circle jerk. Um, and I remember, I remember it got to a point where we were doing it in class. And so in primary school, our tables had the tubs under them, like the sliding tubs, if anyone remembers that. And so there was a bit of coverage. And so we'd literally sit there together in class or like across from the classroom, and we'd like eye each other off, smirking, thinking we were so like nonchalant and covert. And there were a few other people in the classroom that knew. We had a really small school. So like everyone knew exactly what was up. They knew we were like the wank squad. And we would just sit there, never got told on, by the way, never got snitched, and just whack off during class. The teacher never found out. And just a bonus story. I got in trouble this one time. I think I was in year 6 by this point, and I got sent into the year 3-4 classroom. And so I was sitting in the corner while they were running their usual class. They were doing like maths or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and I fully just like in plain sight start jacking off. Like over my pants. I didn't like get anything out or anything, but like just fully started whacking off. Yeah. I think we were still shooting blanks back then, so not really sure what happened to the mess or whatever, if there was any. So yeah. And I think for me, like there was just a huge element of thrill seeking and risk taking behavior that I loved, you know, just like being the little rebel. And obviously that would evolve into other things as I became an adult and a teenager. But at that age, wanking was the rebellious, cool thing to do. So, yeah. We were all in the same futsal team, and our futsal team was called the Dominators. And we ended up coming second for that season. And at our futsal after party, we had probably our last circle jerk ever. Yeah, like 1 second we were playing Call of Duty, eating snacks and drinking soft drink, and then the next we all crowded into one room, locked the door, locked my brother out because he was there, but he was a bit younger than us. So my brother was just left outside playing COD to himself, and there were like 6 of us in a room. We pulled up porn and then just started whacking off together in my mate's like TV room. Yeah, crazy.
It's just like so understandable and natural that like when you haven't got all of that like conditioning around it being private or shameful or dirty or whatever the fuck messaging we wind up absorbing, it is quite a natural thing to get excited about exploring pleasure and then like sharing. Because I've heard from a lot of people that they figured out how to masturbate because one of their mates figured it out or someone had showed them, and then they came and were like, hey, did you know you could do this with your body? Yeah, this is how you do it. And then it became almost like a bonding sort of social thing, because it hadn't been overlaid with any of the shame and the judgment, you know? So it's so innocent and pure, like at its root. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually so true because I think once I got into high school, it then started becoming weird and like people would like judge me for like being so obsessed with it, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I was that guy in high school, by the way, like known as the guy that just loved to wank all the time.
I sort of just fell into this amazing group of girls where there were quite a few of us that were really just curious and interested in, you know, whatever. Like,
Pleasure.
yeah, and there was not a lot of rules. Like, we loved just being outrageous and getting a laugh. Like, anything that was a bit out there was humour for us. So
That's fucking sick.
yeah, it was really good. And I often think what my life would be like if I didn't have these girlfriends, because it's just sort of doesn't really seem like most teenage girls' experience, at least in our generation anyway. So I was so lucky. But ultimately we were camping out at my friend's property, and I'm going to say we were in year 8. I think it was for her birthday, and so it was like quite the first quarter of year 8, pretty early in the year. And I can't recall how we actually came into possession of this toothbrush and came of the realisation that this electric toothbrush could be used as a sex toy. But there was a type of electric toothbrush that was for sale back in the early 2000s where you could take the head off. And when you take the head off an electric toothbrush these days, it looks quite harsh. Like you think, oh, how could that pleasure the clear? It's sharp, yeah, but this toothbrush wasn't like that. It had like a little rounded tip.
This electric toothbrush had like a perfectly designed sort of head if you took off the brush to be able to whack on your clit and use as a vibrator.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of that. That's common. So many people will relate to this, I reckon.
Yeah.
But not the next bit, I guess.
Well, because we were so young and curious and I guess
Free of shame.
free of shame.
Somehow.
To some degree, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say the shame probably crept in later, but at this point in time, I think we were so young that maybe our parents didn't really know what was going on. So there wasn't a lot of, no real stigma attached to it. But yeah, we would literally share the toothbrush amongst us.
Oh my God, I just coughed and farted. Did you hear that fart? It was tiny, but it was in your direction.
Will I smell it?
No.
Hope the mic picks it up. So we would literally lay, if it wasn't in the tent at the birthday party, but what followed was this obsession with the toothbrush where every time we'd have a sleepover, we would lay in the bed like, you know, 3 little pigs, like just squealing with excitement. And we would just be passing the toothbrush back and forward until, you know, you'd have an orgasm, and then it would be like, no, it's my turn. Like, it was,
Oh my God.
yeah, and it was so...
Hurry up, give it to me.
Yeah, you've been having it for ages, like...
And did you just keep passing it around and having like multiple orgasms?
Yeah, essentially. Yep. over and over and over again for hours, which was, the earliest introduction to self-pleasure that I can think of. The downside is that it definitely led to a reliance on sex toys to be able to experience orgasm, which I think a lot of women can relate to, and a lot of women have that issue. So, yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I guess the most amazing thing for me is that, it wasn't like, something that wasn't talked about in our friend group. It was like a communal activity of sorts. Oh. It was so funny.
I just love that.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff, really. And like people would be like, oh, that's gross. Like when you think about it now, you're like, oh, that's disgusting. But it's like, we were so innocent. Like we were virgins. We were like, it was just a toothbrush amongst friends. It's not some like, it's not some big like, horny, orgy where we're all like, we're not pashing and like it wasn't like really sexually fueled like that. It was literally just
pleasure, innocent pleasure,
and like 100%.
Exploration and getting to know cool things that your body can do.
Yeah.
And doing that like among friends, like that's so fucking sick because that would have like safeguarded you from potentially like, I've heard people sort of experience self-pleasure and orgasm, when they're young and be like, what the fuck just happened? What is this? Am I the only person that this happens to? Is this a good thing? Is this not? Because they've already had like layers of conditioning and shame around genitals. So when something feels really nice, but they have shame and they think that area is like dirty or sinful to touch or whatever, they feel quite ashamed and don't tell anyone about it. This cool thing that their body can do, but then it's like so mingled with shame and guilt, so they can't just fully enjoy it and be curious about it because it's sort of, it's like a double-edged sword. And so it's just beautiful that like you not only were like free of shame at that time, found something cool that your body could do, explored pleasure and arousal, and like got to like giggle and have fun with your friends and support each other to like be explorative and curious. And like, I don't know, it was probably like quite bonding and this cute little thing that you did together and lots of endorphins. Yeah,
and also just like spreading that message amongst other friends as well, just like without any guilt or shame attached. Just like, oh yeah, you don't masturbate with a toothbrush? You gotta try it, like, it just became a point where we would, you'd go to Woolies and you'd innocently buy an electric toothbrush and then you'd give it to their friend as a birthday present. Like it was just such a thing, like spreading the joy in a really innocent and gorgeous way.
Oh
and
God.
100%, like I would still consider those girls like some of my best friends, like, because those experiences and those years that we shared together were just, like you said, bonding in a really, really important way. And we thank each other regularly. We're like, thank you so much for being there in those really impressionable years of puberty, because I would not have turned out that way. And we all echo that same sentiment amongst us, because it is such a special thing.
Wow, that's incredible. I don't think many people had that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm so lucky. And the weird thing, like even when then, because I grew up in such a tiny country town, like, it was before the days of, I mean, there was dial-up internet, obviously, but it was before the days of, just jumping on Love Honey and buying whatever fucking toy you like. And, it's not like we were watching porn, and there was none of that. It was so innocent. But I remember when we discovered that the local, like, gift shop sold dildos. It was the only place you could buy a sex toy in town, was at this local gift shop, which was run by this, like, really odd woman. And I remember my mum finding that in my drawer, and I got in trouble.
Really?
Yeah, her reaction was not a favourable one. And I understand now that she was probably just in shock. Yeah, it was definitely just from a place of shock. And she was just projecting her shame onto me, really. But she confiscated my dildo.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God.
I remember being like, whoa, what the hell? What just happened? So weird.
So I was in year 7 and everyone around me at school were talking about masturbation, and I wasn't aware that it was something that I could do or should be doing. So for me, my first time was somewhat peer pressured in that way. I went home, I spoke to my best friend and asked him to coach me through it because I wasn't exactly sure what it was meant to do, how I was meant to feel. I remember setting up on the family laptop. No one was home. I Googled naked women, and that scared me so much, the idea of Googling that. And, you know, I thought I was going to get a virus on the computer, or this was like dial-up internet days as well. So I was really concerned about, you know, the dangers of what could come up. And I had my friend on the phone coaching me through it and what I needed to do. And the moment of ejaculation, nothing came out. It was painful to touch. It was like too sensitive to touch at the end, and it felt very odd, like I'd hurt myself, like I'd injured myself to a degree. And I guess it kind of scared me off doing it again for a while, but I think I was definitely too early. I didn't masturbate because I was aroused. I masturbated for the first time because I thought, well, everyone else is doing it. What's wrong with me, you know?
I never really understood what masturbation was, but then I just used to kind of like, I'd just be like lying in bed and I'd kind of just like put my hand down there, like lying on my stomach and just kind of like move around and it just kind of felt good. And I never understood, I didn't really know what sex was. This is when I was like, you know, primary school age. And then it must have been like really early high school. I reckon maybe like year 7 actually. So we were living in a new house that we'd moved to around that age. And I think I used to like, I don't know, I'd started to find some sort of like naughty websites and stuff. And it wasn't like all out porn, but a lot of the time it'd be like almost like little online games that were like a little bit naughty and that sort of thing. So it was kind of like this weird in the middle thing. I hadn't found like explicit pornography yet. But anyway, I remember seeing this little GIF and it was like not even of a person. It was like just this tiny little man, like a cartoon of a man, and he was actually like stroking it.
Oh, yep.
And I saw that and I was like, oh my God. Like that's the thing.
That's the technique.
Like that's the actual thing that I started connecting some dots. And I remember, and this is kind of the funny bit, I remember just standing in the middle of my room, and I would have been like 12, just jerking off and just standing completely naked in the middle of my room. And then I just came.
On the floor?
Just came. Just like out into the room.
Into the abyss.
Just onto the ground.
Wow.
Because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Oh, because you hadn't ejaculated
I never,
yet.
like, maybe I had, but only, like, never from actually, like, stroking, just from kind of, like, rubbing and whatever.
Yeah.
And then, and then I just came and I was like, whoa. Holy shit. And then I just probably did it, like, 1,000 more times. I cracked the code. I thought I'd, like, figured something out, and I had, I guess.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I just remember just coming out, just onto the ground and just being like, holy shit.
That's epic. And then did you like go and tell your friends like, oh my God, guys, I figured out this crazy thing? No? Never told anyone.
I've never told anyone that story.
Wow.
Ever. Not because I'm ashamed of it or anything, because I'm, an adult, but
I guess it doesn't come up in many
it's just like, it isn't something that I've ever thought to tell anyone.
Yeah.
But it is actually quite a timestamp in my life of like the first actual wank.
Yeah. Literally, and I've heard quite a few stories that started with like, oh, I was just sort of lying in bed and the sheets rubbing against me felt nice, or I was just sort of, like where they hadn't actually figured out the technique of wanking or jerking off, and that was like the accidental discovery of like, oh, that feels kind of nice and stuff, and then not actually having, like it's so interesting because actually I think your story is quite a relatable maybe
Yeah.
even common kind of thing.
Well, another thing for that where I just kind of like was feeling what I guess was like sexual pleasure, but I hadn't aligned it with anything. I just kind of felt good because I was just a kid. Was like, have you ever been skiing, like snow skiing?
Yeah.
You know, like pommers,
The hand
the stick
sticks,
thing,
Yeah.
and you like put it between your legs and it pulls you up the hill.
Oh.
So they're like this long stick thing. It's kind of like a chairlift, but you stay on the ground.
Oh, no,
And
I
you put
haven't
it,
seen
put it between your legs, and then it's like this sort of disc on the end, and it sits behind your
Yeah.
legs, and then it pulls you up the hill. But it comes like
Yeah, that sounds hot.
the pole is vibrating and comes. I'm sure there's a lot of women who
Absolutely.
discover some shit
Fucking oath.
from pommers and T-bars. Probably yeah. But so that was definitely a thing for me when I was younger as well. So I think I was always very aware of like the sensation of it, but never attributed it to anything sexual or even to arousal until I was in like my very early teens.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then I started to connect the dots
Yep.
and then found porn, and then it was like, okay,
Yep.
this is clearly what
Yep.
this is.
100%, and that's the common thread with all these stories I'm hearing. It's like it's an initial sort of like explorative, very pure, very innocent discovery of like pleasure, just plain and simple like pleasure. It's exciting, it's fun, it feels nice, it's enjoyable. It's maybe even a way to self-soothe, and then like, you know, the sort of lens of sexuality comes on later once you know, understand arousal and what turns you on, and maybe you discover porn or whatever. But it's so cool because most people have an experience of just organically discovering that this part of the body is a little bit special and it feels a certain way that's pretty enjoyable, and then you can get creative with like finding ways to make it feel like that. But then it's when the layers of shame come on that really muddy the waters and confuse like formative kids.
I think I had that early as well. Like, I think I placed a lot of shame on that early. And again, I don't know how conscious it was, and it wasn't necessarily because of any big experiences, negative experiences, which I'm lucky, but yeah, fuck, I don't know. It's taken me a long time in my life to be able to take shame out of sex, I think, in a strange way. Or like embarrassment out of sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Thanks for sharing.
No worries.
Awesome. That's great. Perfect.
Sick. Hell yeah.
You got a story for me, I hear?
I do. I do. Do you want me to just say it?
Just roll into it.
So this story takes place on the eve of my 13th birthday.
Cute.
So I was obviously living at home, and my bedroom was at the very back of the house. Earlier in the year, I'd been introduced to porn, and I would watch porn, but the way I would do it and the way I would watch it would be like under my pillow, so that if someone walked in, they wouldn't be able to see it. And at this point, I was also still young enough that I would sleep with my bedroom door open, just for context of how young I was. Anyway, so the eve of my 13th birthday, I'm like, yep, awesome. All right, I'm going to masturbate. I didn't even know it was called that at the time. And then I'm like watching porn under my pillow. And whenever I used to hear someone walking by, I'd just like flip my phone down and pretend to be asleep. And I could hear people walking around that section of the house, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm all good. And then I was watching porn, and then I could hear someone walking closer and closer to my room, and I was like, oh my God, no. And I was like fully naked in bed. And then I could hear someone like get really close, and I like shove my phone down, head on top of the pillow, pretend to be asleep. And I can hear my mum like walking into the room. And then she walks into the room and she lies down in bed next to me. And I'm like,
Did she get under the covers?
no, she didn't. Oh, I can't remember. She might have, but she was right next to me and she was like trying to have a cuddle. And I remember being like, holy shit, what am I going to do?
Had you paused the porn or like? Was
Yeah,
it,
yeah. It must have been paused. No volume. Way too risky for volume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And I was like, oh, mum, like I'm trying to sleep. And she was so angry. And she was like, I just want to give you like a cuddle. Like, you're about to be a teenager. And she got up and she walked out. And I don't think she ever found out. But it was risky business.
Oh.
And that was probably the only time I've like ever almost been caught.
Oh my
my God. And so, like, how close were you to coming when your mum walked into the room? Like, were you having, like, a quickly deflating semi-chub when she, like, spooned you?
All I know is that I might have gone from, like, somewhere near about coming to nowhere near at all.
Inverted penis.
Yeah, inverted penis. It went inside my body. Oh, God,
Oh,
it was
my
so terrifying.
God.
But honestly, other than that, I've been very fortunate in that I don't have any other stories of being caught.
Okay. And, like, what about, do you remember the first time you discovered how to masturbate, or that there was, like, pleasure available to you?
Yeah, it would have. I remember the first time I watched porn. I was introduced to it by a friend, and I still remember, like, the image of the video so clearly.
Whoa.
And I remember the sensation in my body of, like, I don't know what this level of arousal is, and I've never really forgotten about it.
Whoa. So your body just really, like, physically responded with, like, a big flush of arousal and, like, stimuli.
Full on, yeah.
From yeah.
Like, everywhere. It was very, very intense.
Wow.
Yeah. It would be akin to the feeling of taking a drug for the first time.
Yeah,
and
totally.
just not knowing that level of pleasure or arousal was capable of possibly happening. Yeah.
Whoa. And so did you always masturbate to porn from the beginning, or did you start pleasuring yourself before you'd been introduced to porn?
Nope.
No. It was kind of a result of, like, whoa, this is so much arousal, what do I do with this? Now I'm going to...
Yeah, and until much later on, they were a pair. They would go together.
Yeah.
Like, masturbation would only come with watching porn.
Yeah. That's very common.
Yeah.
But you've sort of made an effort to separate those two a little bit more nowadays?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I don't think porn plays a part in my life at all anymore.
Nice.
Which took a while, though.
Yeah, I bet.
To even, like... Yeah, separate those two.
Oh my God, absolutely. Especially when, like, we wire our sort of sexual arousal response to porn. Like, they're so interlinked. If you're always self-pleasuring to porn and ejaculating to porn, it, like, wires your brain to really just respond to that. And so people can find it difficult to wean themselves off.
Yeah, that's right. And I think... I don't know if I was ever fully aware of the negative impact that it had on me, but I think especially being introduced to it from a young age, when I look back in retrospect on how that influenced the way that I see girls or women, it was definitely skewed in an unhealthy way. Yeah.
It's a cool awareness to have now.
Yeah, I think a part of it's a bit sad because I'm sure that that's happening to many, many, many young boys.
Yeah.
And if there had have been maybe education in place or conversations, that might have been spared. But the sex ed that we had was so poor, and I never had a conversation with any adult about porn.
Totally. Yeah, God, no. Cool. Well, thank you. Hey, baby babes. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to pop my head into the lounge here and mention another virtual lounge that I'd love you to get around. It's the Labia Lounge Facebook group that I've created for listeners of the potty to mingle in. There you'll find extra bits and bobs like freebies, behind the scenes, or discounts for offerings from guests who have been interviewed on the podcast. There'll also be, hopefully, inspiring, thought-provoking conversations and support from a community of labial legends like yourself. My vision for this is that it becomes a really supportive, educational and hilarious resource for you to have more access to me and a safe space to ask questions you can't ask anywhere else. So head over to the links in the show notes or look up the Labia Lounge group in Facebook and I'll see you in there. And now, back to the episode. Okay, I love how just immediately you responded, yeah, sure. I'll tell you about my first time masturbation experience. Lay it on me. Set the scene.
So there's two memories that come to mind. And so I distinctly remember reading a magazine like Marie Claire or something like that at our beach house at the time. I think I would have had to have been like 11 or 12. And I distinctly remember having like really intense feelings of like desire and like arousal and that kind of thing from reading a story. And I can't even remember what the story was about.
Was it kind of erotica or just romance kind of?
I because it was a magazine, I don't even know if it was a story or if it was a real life thing. I can't in any way, shape or form remember the story, but I just remember the feeling. And then I distinctly remember that night I think I woke up mid-orgasm.
Dope. That was
So,
your first orgasm?
I think so. But I obviously had no idea what the hell was happening to me at the time. I just remember it feeling like really good and just being like, what the fuck was that? Like, it happened super subconsciously, and I just, and whether it was a full climax or something, I don't know, but it was just something that had me like, I was like, oh, I want to feel that again, and like, what's going on, and
we have
that kind of thing.
nocturnal, like wet dreams, like there is a female equivalent. Like we have nocturnal orgasms.
I can only imagine that that's what it was.
Yeah.
So that's my like very, very, very first memory of experiencing like erotic pleasure and like the first kind of feelings of that. In terms of like active masturbation, I distinctly remember the using the shower head.
Nice.
Because it was like I don't know whether I like read it somewhere or understood that it was something that could happen, but I actually have like a horrifying memory of it of like, so I distinctly remember, because we didn't have, God, this is getting so specific, thank God this is anonymous, but anyway, is that like we didn't have like a handheld. So it was a case of I needed to like turn the taps down to just allow it to drip, and then like fold the shower head down so it would like run out the top.
Oh, wow.
And
so
then like
how was the
position
water
my,
pressure?
and so like I had to like adjust it as well as the temperature to like figure out how to actually
That's commitment.
do it. Like bathtub or shower, but I distinctly remember just like having something like this, is obviously like clitoral, but figuring out like the tempo and the pressure and like I just feeling good, and because it was splashing, it would like go into like it wouldn't be like necessarily like the specific spot.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned how to masturbate, and that's how I learned how to like self pleasure, and then it was actually myself.
Yeah.
Like using my hands or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And I don't actually know how old I was. I must have been in my like early teens. I was definitely in high school, but what was horrifying is like, of course, one time somebody walked in, and it was just like, what the fuck is going on with
Who
my like
walked
leg
in?
splayed, my mum leg splayed, and like all that kind of stuff. And I think I said something like, I got my period and I needed to like wash
Yeah.
my
I
like
guess.
undercarriage. But that was like modus operandi for like a while.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember being on like family holidays and being like, oh, that shower had good work, or like that kind of thing.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And like, preferring to go to certain houses that just had the better water pressure.
I don't
or the
remember
better
ever doing
shower.
it with friends in the sense of like at friends' houses or anything like that. And it wasn't on my mind all the time.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't this kind of like omnipresent feeling of like, you know.
But when you
I need
arrived
to do-
at like a holiday house, you just
Or like if I was
clock
just,
it.
and it wouldn't even necessarily be like, I could even be in the shower and not even think about it. But like once I'd thought about it, that I think like, there was that. And I think upon reflection, I definitely think, because I got my period so early, I think that it was very much, like I remember there kind of being times where I just didn't think about doing it at all. And then sometimes that I did. So I think it was very much in alignment with my cycle and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first masturbation story.
I love that. Do you know that now there's actually a sex toy that's literally a shower head extension that you can put on? Yeah, because this is like so many people's first masturbation experience was either shower head or electric toothbrush.
Yes, so knew about the electric toothbrush, like using the other side of it, or like brushes, like makeup brushes, because it like tickles.
Ah.
Yeah, that was more later in life.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah,
I remember vividly, actually, not necessarily the lead up, but I remember where I was and what it looked like. So I was 12. My mum and dad were still together at that point, so we were living in my dad's house. Is this too much information?
If it's relevant to the story, but otherwise
Okay.
probably unnecessary detail.
Okay, do you want me to start again?
Nah.
Okay.
No.
So I was in their bathroom, and I don't know what like prompted me to touch my dick or start playing with myself, but it's kind of like it was like an itch that needed to be scratched, and I enjoyed the pleasure of like pulling my penis, and there was also a little bit of pain, like just around my foreskin, and like I felt a lot of pleasure, and then I kind of climaxed or orgasmed, but I didn't blow any cum or semen. But there was a bit of blood.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't know whether my foreskin had like been fucking attached in some shape or form, but I was like, I'm cut. So yeah, I never.
Oh, so
never
you're
know
circumcised,
Yeah.
and there's still been blood.
Yeah, never know. I still don't know the answer to that.
Wow.
Never saw blood again. But
Well, I mean, I was going to say, like, it's, you know, your foreskin is initially fused, and until you kind of get to an age where you're starting to actually, like, masturbate and play with it and get erections and pull it back and forwards, often it's still, like, a little bit fused. But if you were already circumcised, then, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe there was still a little bit of adhesion.
totally.
And scar tissue from, like, when they did the surgery. Because, like, probably till that point, like, did you get an erection or, like, a semi? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so then I guess it's like expanding and stretching the skin in a way that it hadn't done before.
And pulling the skin back and forth in a way it hadn't before.
And you just sort of figured out what felt good.
Yeah, totally. Like never been taught, never explained, didn't really even know what I was doing, just felt like felt good, so I kept doing it.
Great. And then was that the beginning of like a long Maz career?
Yep, pretty much. Haven't stopped ever since. From a 12-year-old in the bathroom to a 35-year-old.
Great. Love that. Come on down.
I don't know what do you want from me?
Well, do you remember when you first started
Masturbating
and exploring your body?
Yeah, I do. It was a winter's day in Dublin, Ireland.
Actually?
Yeah.
Oh.
I lived in Ireland. This is when I was living in Ireland when I was, 10?
Great. Shame you don't still have any accent.
Well, I can put the Irish accent on if you want.
Ooh, tell the whole story. No.
All right. So the first time I masturbated, when I finally discovered my body, was in County Dublin. No, I won't do that.
It's pretty good, by the way. But
Thank you.
Just feel
jump in the dark and go back to my gaff. Thanks, million. You're fucking shite. So first time I discovered my body in that way was I would have been about 10, and I remember I think it was during the day, and I was on the top bunk, so I'm one of 6, so I shared many rooms when I was younger. I was on the top bunk, so I like to think that I didn't discover this while someone was sleeping underneath my bunk, so apologies, younger siblings. But I was also a child, and I was lying on my stomach, and I noticed the sensation. And I was like, "Oh, this feels nice. This is new." And I kept on rubbing my body against my mattress, and I kept going. I was like, "Oh God, what is this?" And then I just kept going, and I didn't know what had happened because I was like, had an orgasm and I had no idea what that was, and nothing came out, as we know that sperm does come out. But yeah, I was so young that nothing came out. So I was just like, I have access to this thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a part of me that feels like I discovered it very early. Like I would have been year 4. And so I'm curious about other people's experiences because I'm like, I feel like that's really early discovering that. And if there's any, I'm not sure.
Well, as someone that works in this space and who's asked fuckloads of people about their first Maz experiences, that's not particularly early. Like children are self-pleasuring from toddlers, like such a young age. And then I guess there's a difference though when you start being able to get like a semi-chub, or you're starting to it becomes less just like just comfort and self-soothing and pleasure, and becomes more like arousal, sexual energy vibes.
Yeah, the self-soothing thing. I'm curious. It probably was a self-soothing thing for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had an erection either.
Babies like self-pleasure in the womb.
Yeah.
And like lots of kids hump pillows or lie on their tummy and kind of, so it's very, very normal and natural to happen from childhood. And then, when you do start kind of like doing it deliberately and shooting blanks, like this sort of immaculate
masturbation before you're ejaculating. There's like a window before you reach puberty where like you might be like actively masturbating but not jizzing. And then the next sort of echelon of development is like when you actually get proper erections and semen comes out, or like, well, ejaculate.
Yeah, and I think I obviously didn't share that with anyone, that experience. And I think that's when I guess that's when like the first bit of like shame came in, and the guilt of like, what is this thing? I'm not going to tell anyone because it's in an area that I feel is not appropriate. And like that at that age, and then like the shame around my body, I guess, really started. Because like, you know, like sexual shame. And even in high school, like I still struggle peeing in urinals. True. Because in fucking high school, I was shooting a video for media class in like maybe year 8. And this is when all the boys in the class were really into mooning each other and putting our pants down. And because we had a camera, my friend was filming and then filmed me. I mooned my 2 friends, and then he reckons he saw my penis. And then he said my penis looked like a chode, like this small, fat penis. And ever since then, like my, like, I was so self-conscious about my penis. I've since been confirmed by former partners that it's not the case. Bless my first relationship. It was really funny though, because that was like a narrative that went through the whole school. I think it was my 18th, and then she's like in front of everyone, like, just to confirm, it's not this.
It's not a chode. Yeah. Well, bless her. But I can't believe you got that label from early on, and then that just followed you through high school.
Me. So like, there's a lot of shame around my body. I mean, there's multiple threads here, but that definitely like stayed with me for a really long time.
Oh my God.
And won't name names, but that man, bless him, but I looked back at that footage and you can't see anything. So
he was fully making it up.
Which is probably what he was speaking to. But yeah, I feel like he was making it up. And I was like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. He's like, no, you chose.
He was just fucking trash talking you to get a rise. Yeah. And it just created this entire... That's classic school though, isn't it? It doesn't take much. It doesn't even need to be true or have happened. It just means someone was taking the piss and then it caught on.
Exactly.
And then if you reacted to it...
Oh, definitely. Of course
we do as kids. Then that makes it even more... Yeah, it just gives it legs. Fuck, that's so fucked up though, isn't it? That like something, such a tiny moment can then like colour your entire high school experience and bring all these insecurities about your body into...
Yeah, being naked around people and like just using a urinal.
Yeah.
Like it sucks, especially when you're going to the football.
Yeah.
Such an easy in and out urinal, but I'm having to wait for the only 2 cubicles that are in the men's bathroom.
And is it just because now, even though you feel confident in your body and that's all in the past, you just get stage fright because it's like a nervous system response?
I can like pull my penis out of a urinal, but it's the pain part it's like I'm so in my head that it's like actually doing that thing.
I've often wondered about the whole like urinal stand side by side experience. Like, do you have a little sneaky peek at each other's penis? Like, it's very intimate.
I don't.
Is it like polite etiquette to just keep your eyes forward?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is intimate. For me anyway, and I think it's a respect thing. Like. And also there's this meme where it goes, when there's a urinal, and they've got like different pictures of the urinal, and if 2 people are on either side of the urinal, where do you go? The middle.
Yeah.
If there's a person in the middle and in the right side, you go to the left.
Yeah.
But then there's a picture with like 2 guys standing next to each other, where do you go? And like, there is etiquette. You got to give space. You can't just. You don't just go to a full urinal and stand right next to someone.
Yep.
You got to.
Pretty common sense.
The half meter rule. But some people just get in there and just don't care.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, awesome.
There you go.
Thank you. Great fodder. Very relatable for a lot of people.
Hello, fellow sex educator Freya.
Hello.
What's going on?
Just listening to some pretty cool stories.
I can give you maybe the spin, which would be, it's not first time masturbation experience, but it's first wet dream experience.
Great.
And it singed into my brain because it was you know, you forget all the dreams that you've had in your life. And
Yeah.
I've like never forgotten this dream. Went to a tiny primary school which will remain nameless, and there was only 9 people in my class,
Wow.
3 of which were girls. And I had this wet dream about one of them.
Okay, how old are we?
I was like grade 6,
Yep.
grade 5.
Yep.
And it was like the most beautiful dream. I had no concept or context of what was happening within the dream, but it was just like very warm and intimate and nice and like just like a really pleasant thing.
Nice.
And woke up to the bed being an absolute mess. And I remember telling my friend about it, that experience had happened, and he made it his lifelong wish to tell every single person at the school about that dream, which he achieved in about 30 minutes, to be fair.
Tiny school.
Yeah, and it got back to her.
Did you have a crush on her? Or
100%. And she was going out with my best mate, who was at the time, who was just like this absolute knob of a bloke, footy guy, and like really was instrumental in like bullying a lot of people in the school, that typical jock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always had a crush on her, And even when she was single and I was single maybe like 5 years ago, I didn't have the confidence to go up and talk to her, which was really sad. And I found out afterwards, which crushed me, that she actually was into me. I was like, oh,
What? This was
that's
only
sad, man.
This was only 5 years ago. So as adults, you had another opportunity to see each other. Oh,
and it was the right time, right place, right party. Oh, terrible, man. But like the dream was incredible and like a beautiful experience of just like feeling warm and held, and then having like something also that I've never experienced before happen overnight.
So you'd never ejaculated before? Or as in...
I think I had.
You had? Okay.
Yeah.
But it was the first nighttime.
Yeah. I'm like, geez, far out. Sleeping's different now.
Yeah.
Is this all the time? And genuinely, that'd be maybe one of 5 times in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, and do you think that because of the kind of shame and the embarrassment of it getting around when you were a kid, that like really prevented you from maybe having the confidence to go and talk to her?
Unquestionably. Every time I had like an interaction with a girl early on, relationship-wise, I'd always go to mates and like ask for advice, and I would consistently be let down by them. Which really hit the confidence early. And like my relationships with girls up until maybe 21, 22 was just like so anxious.
Yeah.
First time I ever had a kiss was when I was 18 and had a panic attack for like 50 minutes, you know.
Before or after?
Before. So like I made her a beautiful 3-course dinner. Garlic bread from the freezer. Heated up. I made a chorizo hot pot, which was something that I'm known for. And again, like a beautiful ice cream from the 4-litre vanilla tub, which is not really ice cream. It's just like...
At least it's not Napolitana.
Correct.
Or Neapolitan.
Yeah, $4 for 4 litres is still questionable though. And so after I made her that dinner, she said, would you like to have a first kiss?
Oh.
And I was like, I've never kissed anyone before. And she was like, oh, okay. And I went in and just froze. And she really de-escalated me and like helped me get through that. But it was like an incredibly, I don't want to say awful, but it was like a very, maybe let's say like scarring experience.
Fuck.
Yeah. And there was like other threads in that too, where further down the line, like I just couldn't do PDA, and I made like really specific requests of her to not do that. And like there was one really specific time where I asked her not to kiss me at a particular party. And for whatever reason, the whole crowd moved. We were in the centre. There was a light on us, and she gave me a huge smooch.
Oh my God.
And I pushed back, and she kept going. And I said stop, and she kept going. And like insert whether or not that's actually SA or that's just an uncomfortable situation. But either or, like they had a really big impact on me and how I went about talking to women from then on.
Oh my God.
From all those little experiences,
100%. God. I mean, it's so topical with what we're talking about with consent today.
Yeah.
And I think like, it's so, this is completely off topic, but
a thread that I've heard and explored with a lot of men is that they feel like consent violations are invalidated purely because they're men and it's happening by a woman.
Yep.
It's like it still fucking happens
Yeah.
and it still makes you deeply uncomfortable and
Yep.
crosses a boundary
Yep.
and can be scarring. I'm curious about the first kiss, like once she de-escalated things and then made you feel safe, did you end up having a kiss and were you able to enjoy it or?
Definitely couldn't enjoy it, but got like a little peck. And I was like, okay, I've got over that.
Yeah,
It's kind
ripped
of like
off the Band-Aid now.
exposure therapy.
Yes,
almost.
yeah. And then did it take long to get comfortable with kissing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time it felt like I was faking the kiss. I wasn't in the kiss. And to be honest, that took maybe another 6 or 7 years to like resolve.
Wow. Until you were able to just be in it and enjoy it and flow with it. Yeah. Fucking hell. I think so many people experience intimacy like that and they're trying to perform it instead of being able to sink into it and like soften and enjoy it. And it's so sad because like it's no fucking wonder, you know, like such a nervous system thing. And if you can't feel safe and co-regulate with another person and enjoy touch, then like holy shit, like you're being deprived of such an incredible experience of being human. But like I think that's really common for people to
And again, like topical on today's stuff where we're talking regarding consent and like you want to call it like your foundations almost of like boundary setting and that sort of stuff, where if you've got interactions where there isn't that boundary setting at like a baseline, I really specifically use that example of me having that public kiss that I was really off. And when I do sex ed workshops in classrooms with kids, I give that example because it's like it's approachable enough, people could see it happening to them. And it also like brings in a really good question of like, what was that experience? Is it me being sexually assaulted? Is it me being really uncomfortable? Is it just not communicating well enough?
It sounds like you communicated very clearly though and that was ignored.
But again, like you've got the beautiful spectrum where people, you know, the kids that are in the workshops can see themselves at any point in that continuum, and it's just light touch enough to think of that. And then I talk about my experiences kissing people afterwards, because in public, I didn't do it for 10 years.
Yeah, and it's also super interesting, like looking at that scenario and seeing what feelings people have about it, how they react, and then going, cool, and then what if the genders were reversed? How would you feel about
100%.
that? Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
That's okay.
Great. And I guess just because we talked about it and for context, and I think I'm allowed to mention this now, but I'll double check, but we're in a little break from recording an affirmative consent podcast at the Man Cave on their podcast called Is This Okay? So a bit of a plug to Is This Okay? Which is an incredible resource around consent. And I just thought I'd take advantage of having these epic heads in the room to ask for some stories. And you are a pediatric nurse and sex educator?
Yeah, the spiel in 30 seconds is I'm a complex care registered nurse. So I work at the Royal Children's. I also work for a big government organisation that works in schools. You can figure out which one that is. And I do lots of consent workshops, drug and alcohol workshops and sex ed at a baseline. And then have my own business which sort of captures everything at once. But you and me, Frey, also work here at the Man Cave.
Yeah. And I've been meaning to just get you on for an episode of your own. So this today can be a warm-up.
Sure,
Cool.
we can talk.
Fuck yeah.
Done.
Excuse this quick interruption. I'm shamelessly seeking reviews and 5-star ratings for the potty because, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, it's pretty fab, and the more people who get to hear it, the more people I can help with it. Reviews and ratings actually do make a big difference to this little independent podcaster, and it's really easy to just quickly show your support by taking that simple act of either leaving 5 stars for the show on Spotify, or even better, writing a written review and leaving 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts. Or if you're a real overachiever, you can do them both. That would be mad. If you're writing a review, though, just be sure to use G-rated words, because despite the fact that this is a podcast about sexuality, words like sex can be censored and your review won't make it through the gates. Lame. Anyway, I would personally recommend doing that right now while you remember, just to get on top of it and let me know you're with me on this journey. Thanks, gang. Enjoy the rest of the epi.
Do you remember this song? I walked under a bus. I got hit by a train. I keep falling in love, which is kind of the same.
Paddy's disgruntled because it's not making
I'm sunk out at sea, crashed my car, gone insane.
Just better have
And it felt so good. I want to do it.
It doesn't even have anything to do with the story.
No.
Right, well, that can be the intro to the episode because that was beautiful, guys.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me?
I'm putting a pin in that. Tell me the story.
Get your shame out.
Go.
I would have been around 14 or 15 years old, and this is embarrassing and gross, but when I used to ejaculate onto toilet paper or tissues, and so I'd sort
Standard.
of I'd be laying there and I'd have it there, and then ejaculate, and then the gross part is that I used to just drop them down the side of my bed.
That's probably also pretty standard for a teenage boy.
There was a pile of tissues and
Cum
toilet
dumpster,
paper
literally.
that were on down the side of my bed.
Dumpster, as
And I thought nothing of it, every month or whatever, I'd clean it out. Anyway, one day I hear a noise coming from underneath my bed.
Oh my God, it's a mouse.
I hear a ch. Fuck, what is that noise? Is there something in the walls? Is there something on the roof? What's going on? Ch. And then I decide, all right, I've got to investigate what this noise is. And then I had a look under my bed, and I could see my cat, Kenny, just licking the cum tissues and toilet paper. And that was my prompt to finally gathered them all up. A lot of them had been torn by Kenny chewing them, and flushed them all down the toilet.
Whoa.
So that's my first story.
Okay, love that.
And then my second story takes us back to Bathurst. The Bathurst 1000. It would have been around 2004, I think, because it was timed with the election. And it was the election that John Howard was going up against Mark Latham. And so I went to Bathurst 1000 for a number of years with my dad and a bunch of his mates. And on this particular Bathurst 1000, we had to go into town because my dad and all his mates had to vote in the election. And as we were driving out of the racetrack and going into town to vote, there were grid girls handing out copies of FHM and Ralph magazine.
God. Yep.
And they were dressed, quite scantily clad. And it was quite an exciting scene for young 15-year-old Daniel. And anyway, we get into town, and I've got a copy of Ralph and I've got a copy of FHM. And then Dad and his mates who were driving the car were like, "Oh, do you want to come with us and wait in the line to vote?" And I was like, "It sounds pretty boring, to be honest.
Got better things to do. I'm going to go have a fat."
So I was in the back seat of the car, and the car was parked somewhere on a main street in Bathurst, and I was flicking through the magazine, reading the articles and finding them quite fascinating, and then eventually I got an erection, and just reading through and mostly the articles, a few pictures as well, and then I'm starting to get quite excited, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna have a wank. So I was sitting there in the back seat, driver's side passenger seat. And, I'm wanking away, and eventually it reaches a point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to come, and I didn't have a receptacle into which to come. So I'm looking around because I didn't have any tissues or toilet paper, and so I'm looking around, and my dad had on all of the seatbelts, the seatbelt covers that you put on to stop it from rubbing into your neck, and he had this sheepskin cover, seatbelt cover, and so I just ripped the Velcro off and kind of position myself and do my thing, and then I scrunch it all up into a little ball, and then I shove it in the pocket behind the driver's side. Yeah, behind the driver's seat. And Dad also had like a seat cover on there as well, so I had to pull the seat cover up, scrunch up the little seatbelt cover sheepskin thing into a ball, shove it into the pocket behind the driver's seat, pull down the seat cover, carry on, eventually Dad comes back, we drive back to Bathurst, all that sort of thing. And then a couple of years later, Dad's getting ready to sell the car, and I'm out in the garage helping him. And
Had you forgotten at this point?
I had forgotten that the little ball was in there, and so Dad's, taking all the covers and things off, and we're cleaning the car. He takes the seat cover off, and then he's reaching in the seatbelt, the seat pockets, just to see if there's anything in there, and then he pulls out this little ball, this old sheepskin ball that seatbelt cover that hasn't quite
stuck together,
and he sort of picked it up and he looked at it, and I saw it and I immediately knew what it was, and my gut just dropped, and we sort of didn't really look at each other. He just kind of threw it in the bin, and I still don't know to this day whether he knew what that was.
Do you think it was obvious? Like, I can't tell if he would have cottoned on or not.
I don't know, but what I do know is that a few years later, when Dad was catching up with his mates who went to Bathurst, and I thought that I'd gotten away with masturbating in the back seat, and they wouldn't have possibly known, and then they'd been joking the entire time about how there was a 15-year-old boy sat in the back seat with a copy of FHM and a copy of Ralph after being handed it by a good girl, so they were all like,
surely.
Yeah. we know why you didn't want to join the line to come and vote. So.
Oh my God, they were onto you from the get-go. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Are we recording?
We're recording.
This is a judgment-free space.
Yeah.
We're in the Labia Lounge.
Okay. So my story begins on a family holiday. we were in Malaysia, and we were snorkeling. And this trip was a trip where we would kind of, on this particular day, we'd go out in a boat and you'd go to a bunch of different spots. And one of the spots we went to was called Shark Point. And the whole idea was to see sharks. And the water here was a bit colder and a bit more spooky and eerie. And I actually remember being quite scared in the water, knowing that there were sharks around. But the main thing, I was a bit scared, but I was also cold. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, the way to keep warm is I'll put my hands in my boardies, just to keep warm, swim along, try and stay as warm as possible. So our boat has pulled up. We've all jumped out. We're all swimming along. I'm swimming along with my hands in my boardies. Mm-hmm. My penis starts rubbing against my hands, the movement of me swimming. And so I start getting a stiffy as I'm swimming around snorkeling, waiting, trying to look for sharks. We weren't seeing any. Anyway, at this point I look around and I can't see my family anywhere, and I'm feeling like I'm all alone, and one thing leads to another, and I'm just like full wanking as I'm snorkeling.
So you've got flippers on.
I've got flippers on.
So you don't really need your hands to propel yourself. You just kick, and you can use your hands for better.
Literally kicking along as I'm wanking this little 12-year-old boy or something.
Oh my God. And like seeing like beautiful coral and stuff.
And trying to find sharks. That was the big thing.
Oh my God.
Anyway, get to the point where I'm about to come. And then as my orgasm begins, I have this moment of panic flush over me, because I remember all those facts about sharks being able to smell like blood. A drop of blood in like a whole ocean. And I think to myself, what is it with cum? Are they attracted to cum? Do they smell cum in the ocean? And I remember looking down and watching my little penis as this cum sort of like goes out the end and dissolves off into the water. And I imagine like all these sharks just like freezing and just like turning their heads towards me, and then just like piranhas coming and just like devouring my little penis. But that didn't happen, and I kept swimming, and I cleaned up and then got back to the boat. And then to my horror, when I got back to the boat, which was only maybe 10 meters away from where I was, my whole family, mum, dad, 3 sisters, had decided to get out of the water early because it was cold, and they'd just been standing in the boat watching me snorkel around, and would have seen me with my little hand just like thrashing the water.
Tell? Because maybe they couldn't tell. Maybe it just
Have you
looked like...
spoken about it since?
I've never asked them. And I don't know whether they all watched me have a little wank in the ocean that day.
It's like, is he alright? Do we need to chuck a buoy out there?
Is he drowning? Why is he thrashing around like that? Oh, that's amazing. Because I know that, like, when you're snorkeling and you're in this under the water, like, land, it's like an aquascape. You're in another world and it feels like you're really far away, but the boat was just there.
Just there. And they definitely would have been able to see erratic movements coming from my
my God.
hand, so yeah.
I love that.
All right, who's next?
I can go up next. Yeah, why not?
Yay! Proud of you. Proud of you. Safe space.
Safe space.
Okay.
So in primary school and high school, during school holidays, I would always go to my older cousin's house and stay there for a few days. And my cousin was a couple of years older, and so he's the one who introduced me to, like, drinking, smoking, partying, just your classic, for me, older cousin role or older brother role. And there was this particular time when me and my parents had gone down to go visit, and I think they were pick me up to bring me home. And I remember being in my cousin's room with one of his friends, and this was the first time I was sitting there, and he was like, "Oh, check this out." And it was my first introduction to porn. And I don't know how long my cousin had been watching porn for, because whatever he showed me was pretty intense and still is burnt into my memory. And I don't know how much of it I should describe.
Go, like, whatever. Go for it.
I just remember it was this woman, and she had her legs open, and there was this bald man, and this man shoved his head into the woman's vagina. And just like
wore her like a hat.
like literally like was this scene of like literally wore like a hat, and was just like this slow like insertion of his head into this woman. And I was utterly shocked, confused, and evidently aroused seeing a naked woman and a man, and just like seeing scenes I'd like never seen before. And so I have this memory of seeing that, and that's like ingrained in my consciousness for all of eternity. And obviously I got a stiffy, got an erection, and from my memory I think it was like my first time ever having an erection and not knowing what to do with it. And so my cousin showed me this. It's time to go home. And so my mum and dad chucked me in the back seat, and we're driving home. And I'm sitting in the back seat. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with this thing? Like, I don't know what's going on. And this is where it's probably like a bit of a blur, where as I'm just like touching, not sure what to do, suddenly probably reached the moment of climax and have just like cummed all in my underwear in the back seat while my parents were driving me home in there. And so I'm just like, it's happened, and now I'm just like, it's like all wet. What do I do? There's like a smell that I wasn't sure about, and my mum and dad are in the front seat, and I'm just like, as a kid, like, don't know what to do, like, in this circumstance. And I have no memory of what happened next. Of like, did I clean myself up? Did I chuck my undies into the out the window or into the washing basket? But that moment of just like that, there's like an immense amount of shame that can come up with that. I think both of first time exploring myself sexually or discovering myself sexually, but then the shame of what I saw with my cousin in that space, and then not knowing what to do, and then coming with my parents in the car. At the time, I don't think I was experiencing shame or realized there was shame, or just probably more confusion. But I think like over time, more so as I've become an adult and I have moments where I like shoot back to that experience, I think my adult self judges that and applies shame to that experience that was more about discovery, probably in a less private sort of space. And yeah, that memory in particular, like, was the first time I ever masturbated. And
kind of accidentally.
Yeah, I was just about to say, almost like passively rather than...
passively.
Rather than
more like fucking, what is happening here? Because it would have been just like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, that's sort of nice. And like, and then one thing was like, wow, what do I do? Is this weird? And then, you know, one thing led to another, and I just come in my pants.
I've got another one.
Yes.
So this is into my Maz journey. So I've already like established that this is something that can happen, and it's really enjoyable. And I'm also very much know that I'm gay, but no one else does. Also in the time of dial-up internet, and so it was at our house. We had like a separate garage, but it was an office. So that's where the computer was. That's where the internet was. Now, Dad didn't used to get up early, but Mum did. She'd always get up early and go for a walk. And that was my time to go and explore on the internet without anyone being around. So anyway, I've gone out of my room, out of the house, and into the office space. And I'm clicking through... I don't know how I even found porn back then, but whatever. It was very much like pictures, line by line frame. It takes, 30 seconds for a picture to show. So I'm there, like, beaten off to a picture of a naked guy, and I locked the office door and I closed the blinds, and then I just hear this on the window, and there was a tiny slit between the curtains, and my mum had just rocked up. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm fucking clicking buttons, fucking throwing the computer on the ground. And I let her in the office, and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, just doing some research or whatever. And we never spoke about it again. Never to be spoken again.
I have one more quick one.
I would die.
Yeah.
If Mum wanted to talk to me about it.
The first time that me and all of my mates got drunk, we were at a mate's house, and it was like a sanctioned, like, we're all going to get, our intention is to get smashed. And so, like, we'd gone, and his older brother, who was over 18, had taken us to the shops and had bought all the, Jack Daniels and Coke and all this sort of stuff. And it gets to about probably 10:30 p.m. at night, and we're all, like, pretty drunk, and there's just half bottles of Jack Daniels and Coke everywhere. And then a mate of mine, and we were sitting across one of those classic Australian suburban backyard tables that had the glass top, and then just all the seats around it. And then someone just had the idea, we should go down to 7-Eleven and get one of the magazines that's in the plastic bags and, like, bring it back and have a flick through. So we made like a 20-minute hike down to 7-Eleven. We're all drunk as we walk in. The oldest looking one of us buys like the magazines. We walk 20 minutes back to his house, my mate's house, and then we're all sitting around, and we open the magazine and we start passing it around, and we're like, oh, this is sick. But then we look over the other side of the table, and one of our mates is just sitting in one of those chairs with the slight back, and he's just got his pants around his knees, and he just has a massive erection, and he's just going at it.
What? Because it's a glass table, you can see.
Yeah.
Do you think he thought that he was hiding it under the table?
No, I think we're all so drunk and excited that he was just massive erection, just absolutely going at it, and we're all like, this is fucking crazy. And then we hear the sliding door open. Oh no! It was about 1:30 in the morning at this point, and my mate's dad, who was not the dad of the guy who was masturbating, but was the guy who'd been so kind to host us all and allow us to get drunk in a safe place, walks out because we're all making so much noise, and he walks out to tell us to, like, tone the noise down. And then the first thing he sees is his son's best mate with his pants around his knees, massive erection, masturbating at his table.
That is my wet dream.
And
Why weren't my friends doing that?
my friends doing that?
I have never felt more sorry for a parent in my entire life.
What did the parent
What did he
do?
say?
He was just like, fuck it. He saw it and was just like, like his brain obviously had some sort of aneurysm.
It's like
Fucking
1:30
enough.
a.m., like.
And then we were probably all passed out by that too. Yeah. Never spoken to him
Shot
again.
your load and needed to sleep.
Yeah. The poor dad. Oh my god.
That is fabulous. Oh my god. Sick. Anyone got any last ones you want to just get out?
Hey, me again. If you'd like to support the potty and you've already given it 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening on, I want to mention that you can buy some really dope merch from the website and get yourself a Labia Lounge tote, tee, togs. Yep, you heard that right. I even have Labia Lounge bathers. Or a cute fanny pack if that'd blow your hair back. So if fashion isn't your passion though, you can donate to my Buy Me a Coffee donation page, which is actually called Buy Me a Soy Chai Latte, because I'll be the first to admit I'm a bit of a Melbourne cafe tosser like that. And yes, that is my coffee order. You can do a once-off donation or an ongoing membership and sponsor me for as little as 3 fat ones a month. And I also offer one-on-one coaching and online courses that'll help you level up your sex life and relationship with yourself and others in a really big way. So every bit helps, because it ain't cheap to put out a sweet podcast into the world every week out of my own pocket. So I will be undyingly grateful if you support me and my biz financially in any of these ways. And if you like, I'll even give you a mental BJ with my mind from the lounge itself. Saucy. And I'll pop the links in the show notes. Thank you. Later.
So, for a bit of context, in about year 3, my mum converted to Catholicism, which is like my dad's family's religion. And so she made us go to church every Sunday from that point for the next like 9 years or something, right? And we were even like altar boys, an altar girl for my sister. And I think it was about year 8 or year 9 where I stopped believing in like the Catholic religion, I guess. And I brought it up with my parents, and my dad wasn't having any of it. We had a massive fight over it, right? And then so for the next 2 years, I actually decided to keep going to church every Sunday just to appease my parents and maintain a bit of harmony in the family. And it got to a point where I was so sick of church that I no longer sat with my parents. And there was this section at the back of my church behind like all of the pews where it was like sectioned off by like a glass door, and it was behind everyone. And I started to just stay there for the entire mass when I would go. And it was sectioned off, so like everyone that was in front of me was facing like away from me. They were facing the front of the church, the altar. The only people facing me were all the way at the front on the altar, so they couldn't like see that far. And I thought, what a rebellious act it would be to show my disdain for the church by just whacking off right then and there. So that's what I did. I jacked off, and I don't think I was watching anything, using pure imagination, and I nutted on the ground, on the carpet. And I remember taking a picture on my Samsung Galaxy S4 so that I could show my brothers as like, hey, look at what I did. And yeah, that's my church story. The second worst, in my opinion, second worst wank that I've had was something I mentioned to you before. It was probably when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I was on a family holiday in Queensland. I was by myself. I had run off by myself, and I was chilling in the hotel spa. And the spa was pretty big and very bubbly. There was a really, really attractive lady right across the spa from me. And me being the horny little deviant that I was like, shoulder deep in the water and under the guise of all the bubbles and like the sound of it as well and all the foam, I just fully whacked off and nutted in the water. And I literally watched my cum like float through the water. And I remember even at that age thinking, wow, that's fucking gross. I'll tell you the last one that I've got for now. Just while I've got you still. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling in flow right now. All right. So the other one that is like a top 5 shameful wank for me would be when I was in year 5, I was on a plane to the US and it was an overnight flight on an Airbus. And in Melbourne time, it was like the really early AMs. So literally everyone on the plane around me was asleep, right? And there was a person next to me who was asleep, but they were like leaning like away from me. I was in an aisle seat, right? And I had a blanket on and I was watching some raunchy movie. I can't remember what it was, but there was a scene that, kind of got me going. I was like, you know what? Everyone's asleep. I'm not going to go to the bathroom for this. And so I sat there in the aisle seat, full like Mission Impossible style, just had a bat and nutted in my pants and never spoke to anyone about it. That was that.
Oh my god, I'm picking up on like almost a competitiveness around like, all right, what's the most outrageous public place I can have a fap, and like, almost like where people who get around like exhibitionism or risky sex that like to have public sex or join the Mile High Club try to have sex in places. You were just on this whole tip trying to like have outrageous wanks.
Yes, you're actually so right. Like I forgot that was my mindset at the time, but yeah, like I actually prided myself in being like, yeah, like I did it on the plane, like I did it in church. I don't care. That's what's up, marking my territory. Yeah.
I get it. Like I see the appeal. Like I kind of think like, about different times traveling and just trying to like take a piss off the highest point or in the most ridiculous place, or yeah, like I can kind of see the appeal with like trying to one up yourself or your mates around the riskiest, almost like, kind of blasphemous place that you could have a wank.
Thank you. I feel supported.
So I don't really remember the first time that I tried to masturbate, but I do remember the first time that I came, and that was in a park after school in my school uniform with my high school girlfriend at the time, my first girlfriend, was giving me a hand job in the park, as you do in year 9 or year 8 or whatever year it was. And then all of a sudden this sensation started to rise within me, a feeling that was unfamiliar. And I ejaculated all through my undies. And was like, oh, I've got to go, because I didn't know what was happening. So I like quickly did my fly up and stood up and just like without much more than that, just ran home.
Oh my God. So what did you think had happened? Were you like...
I thought maybe I pissed my pants.
Yeah, okay, like a pleasurable piss.
Yeah. And so I just really just wanted to get home and was embarrassed by the whole experience. So it turned out actually that it was a good thing. And then I learnt more about it from there. So
how did you go and Google it after that? Because obviously you would have gotten home and been like, okay, it's not we.
Yeah, I must have been old enough to know what like that meant ejaculate, but
okay.
I just don't know that I've had, because I hadn't experienced it before. I didn't know what was happening.
That wasn't your first thought. You were like, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was just embarrassed that all of a sudden there was liquid in my pants, and I was in a park next to a main road in my school uniform. Like, well, and these are the pants I wear to school the next day, and that kind of stuff. So I don't remember. I remember very vividly the process of leaving the park and running down this main road
But I don't remember like what I did, like putting into the
Okay.
laundry or whatever.
Okay.
I don't think I told my mum or anything.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
What about your girlfriend? Any explanation after that, or just?
I think she knew what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
If she's given hand jobs, she probably.
Yeah. But then I went on like a school camp not long after that for 3 weeks, and then she hooked up with 2 boys at a school dance, and we broke up. So it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be.
My earliest masturbation experiences and memories go back to, I would say, probably grade 5 or 6, and one of my best mates and I, we were in primary school, and we just had so much curiosity around our dicks and playing with them, and we would often speak to each other about what masturbation was, and I don't think either of us had a very clear idea, but we knew it had something to do with playing with ourselves. And a few times in grade 6, this is before we could even, ejaculate, we would leave class, and we were both in a band together in primary school, and our primary school allowed us to sort of like, we had a kind of an interesting relationship with our grade 6 teacher that like we would just say we were going to play music, and that was an excuse for us to be able to like sneak off, because our band frequently rehearsed during like class time. So we would often like say, oh, we're off to play music, and we would either be going to play music or we would just like wander around school. And then in grade 6, the curiosity started arising that we would go to like one of the bathrooms that like students didn't really go to, but we could go there and then just like play with ourselves, and it was in front of each other, and it was just like naive curiosity, and there was like no harm in it, but we were just like experimenting, and like I don't think I was even really getting hard. I remember thinking that my friend was and I wasn't, and that was something that I was thinking about. And then it just became like this thing that we did, and I think it might have been known like 4 or 5 times, but we called it our M sessions, which was M for music, but also M for masturbation. So we would look at each other in class and be like, is it time for an M session? And then we would go and tell our teacher, M is for music, so we're going to go and play some music, and we were actually going to go and have an early masturbation session.
Whoa. And so it wasn't obviously to like completion, because at that point you weren't really ejaculating, let alone maybe even getting erections. Like, was it for pleasure, or was it just to see what kinds of crazy like, penis puppetry you could do? Or like when you say play with ourselves, like...
Dude, it's so funny. It's like, it wasn't for pleasure at all, because I don't think I was getting hard. And our technique was so interesting. Like, my friend taught me the technique, and he said I had to just kind of like slap it back forth. And so it wasn't pleasurable at all, but it was just like it was just pure curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, we were grade 6s, and the very, very earliest bits of testosterone were coming in, and we just like wanted to see what would happen.
Wow.
This is all around the same time that I was like searching up sexy videos on YouTube and like trying to do something at home, and nothing was happening for me. But all of this leads to like the first time I ever orgasmed, even though it was dry, was I was playing a computer game, and it was an early Lord of the Rings computer game.
Hot.
Yep. Playing this online. No, not even online, actually just like on the PC, just a computer CD-ROM video game. And as a little kid, I would like play with my dick all the time while I was playing video games, just like one hand's doing this, controlling this, the other hand's just like... And I was just playing with myself, and I'm playing this video game, and all of a sudden like there's this pressure building, and I'm like, oh, this feels good. And I kept playing the video game and kept playing with myself, and it built and it built and it built, and I had no idea what was happening, and then I just kept playing, and I remember just like this feeling of like pleasure in my dick, and I was like, oh, I
think I've just
Done the thing.
done the thing. I think I've just had it happen.
Oh my God.
And this is probably like late grade 6, and my friend had been telling me that he'd been successful at home. And I was like, yes. But of all the things to be doing, I was playing a video game and just kind of like absent-mindedly playing with my dick, and it had happened. And I remember I went to the bathroom and it was all dry down there. And I'm like, well, maybe it's too early to be actually ejaculating. But that was the first time I'd ever like came. Well, I didn't come, but like orgasm while masturbating, and to think that it was just like a video game.
And now you can only come to elves.
Correct. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, that's my early story.
Whoa. So did you get into like erotic LARPing since then?
No, none of that. I've actually gone very much away from that vanilla type of guy now. But yeah.
Fuck
that's
yeah.
it.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you. Amazing.
All right, labial legends. That's it for now. I hope that those stories whet your appetite and that you're keen for a part 2. Just a quick reminder, let me know which your favourite story was, and if you've got a story for me, send it in. And that's it, darling hearts. Thanks for stopping by the Labia Lounge. Your bum groove in the couch will be right where you left it, just waiting for you to sink back in for some more double L action next time. If you'd be a dear and subscribe, share this episode, or leave a review on iTunes, then you can pat yourself on the snatch, because that's a downright act of sex-positive feminist activism, and you'd be supporting my vision to educate, empower, demystify, and destigmatize with this here podcast. I'm also always open to feedback, topic ideas that you'd love to hear covered, questions or guest suggestions, so feel free to get in touch via my website or over on Insta. You can also send me in TMI stories to be shared anonymously on the pod. My handle is FreyaGraf_the Labia Lounge, if my account hasn't been deleted for being too sex positive, which, is always a possibility with censorship. But just in case the chronic censorship finally does obliterate my social channels, I'd highly recommend going and joining my mailing list and snagging yourself some fun freebies for the trouble at www.freyagraf.com/freebies. Anyway, later, labial legends. See you next time.